Some people say hospitals are the most haunted places on earth, that the line between the living and the dead is thinnest where both exist at the same time. I used to think that was just something people said to scare each other. I don't think that anymore. This happened in February 2022. I was 29 years old, working the night shift as a staff nurse at Mercy General Hospital in Springfield, Illinois, United States. By then, I had been a nurse for 3 years. I'd seen deaths, emergencies, and families falling apart in waiting rooms. I thought nothing could shake me anymore. I was wrong. Ward 9 had been sealed since 2019. Nobody talked about why. Not the senior nurses. Not the doctors. Not hospital administration. If you asked, you'd get a vague answer. Renovations. Structural problems. It's being repurposed. And then the conversation would end. Ward 9 was located on the 3rd floor, at the far end of the east wing. A long corridor led to a heavy steel door secured with a chain and a padlock. A faded notice was taped to the front. Restricted area. Authorized personal only. In 3 years, I had never seen anyone enter. The door was always locked. Always. The night it happened, I was alone at the 2nd floor nurses' station. The clock on the wall read 2:13 a.m. The hospital was unusually quiet. Not peaceful quiet. The kind of silence that feels heavy. The kind that makes every distant sound seem wrong. Then the phone rang. I picked it up. 2nd floor nurses' station. This is Emily. Static crackled through the receiver. Then a woman's voice. Soft, distant, almost as if she were speaking from the other side of a tunnel. Ward 9. Patient in bed 4. Please come. I frowned. I'm sorry. What ward did you say? But the line had already gone dead. I sat there for a moment. Ward 9 had no patients. Ward 9 had no staff. Ward 9 had been sealed for 3 years. I convinced myself it was a wrong number. A crossed line. Nothing more. I logged the call and returned to my paperwork. At 2:31 a.m., the phone rang again. The same voice. Bed 4 is waiting. Please don't take too long. My hand froze. I looked at the extension display. 309. I knew the hospital's extension system. The first digit represented the floor. The last 2 represented the room. 3rd floor. Room 9. Ward 9. I immediately called security. The night guard, Michael Harris, answered. I explained the situation. There was a pause. Then he said he would check the 3rd floor. 7 minutes later, he called back. Emily, the corridor is empty. You checked the door. I'm standing in front of it right now. Chain's still there. Lock's intact. I exhaled slowly. Okay, thanks. Maybe that was the end of it. Maybe. At 2:47 a.m., the phone rang a 3rd time. This time I answered before the 2nd ring. The voice had changed. The calmness was gone. Now she sounded tired. Not sleepy. Exhausted. The exhaustion of someone who had waited far too long. Why isn't anyone coming? A pause. It's been so long. Bed 4. Please. The hairs on my arms stood up. I swallowed. Who are you? Silence. Then she spoke again. I was admitted here. A long time ago. Another pause. I don't know how long. I just know nobody came. The line disconnected. I should have called my supervisor. I should have woken the attending physician. Instead, I grabbed my flashlight and headed for the 3rd floor. The corridor was exactly as Michael described. Empty. Silent. One of the fluorescent lights near the end had burned out, leaving part of the hallway in darkness. The steel door stood there, waiting. The chain remained locked, the padlock untouched. I stood staring at it. Then I heard something. A sound from behind the door. A cardiac monitor. Slow, steady, rhythmic. My heart began racing. I pressed my ear against the cold metal. The beeping became clearer dot and beneath it. Very faintly, someone breathing. I ran. Back downstairs. I called Michael. Then I called the on-duty physician, Dr. Robert Anderson. Within minutes, both arrived. I told them what I'd heard. Dr. Anderson looked skeptical, but he took the master key. The chain came off. The lock clicked open. The door swung inward. The ward was empty. 12 hospital beds stood in neat rows, all bare. No mattresses, no sheets. Dust covered every surface. The windows had been boarded shut. The air smelled stale. Abandoned. There was no monitor, no equipment, no patient, no bed 4 occupant, nothing. Drive Anderson looked at me. I had no explanation. We were about to leave when Michael suddenly raised his flashlight. Emily. His voice sounded strange. I followed the beam. On the wall beside bed 4, beneath layers of peeling paint, were words written directly on the plaster. Faded, but still readable. Please check bed 4. Please don't leave me. The handwriting was thin and shaky, like someone had written it with the last strength they possessed. None of us spoke. The next morning, I went to the hospital archives. It took nearly 2 hours. Finally, I found an old incident report. The document had been filed by a retired nurse named Margaret Wilson. The report described a patient, Sarah Miller. Female, age 34. Admitted to Ward 9, Bed 4 in 2018 for what should have been a routine procedure. That night, the hospital had been severely understaffed. Patient files were misplaced. Communication broke down. During the chaos, Sarah's chart disappeared. Hours passed. No one checked on her. No one noticed she had been forgotten. By the time a nurse entered the room, it was too late. At the bottom of the report was the official time of death. 2:13 a.m. 2 weeks later, I transferred to day shift. I told management it was for personal reasons. Nobody questioned it. For a while, I kept the story to myself. Then one night I told a coworker I trusted. She listened quietly. When I finished, she asked a question I had never considered. The calls came from extension 309, right? Yes. And Ward 9 was sealed in 2019? Yes. She leaned forward. Then how could anyone call from there? I didn't have an answer. Before my final night shift, I visited the maintenance office. I asked a technician a simple question. Were the phones in Ward 9 still connected? He checked the system. A few moments later, he looked up. His expression had changed. No. What do you mean? He turned the monitor toward me. There it was. Extension 309 status. Inactive. Disconnected. August 14th, 2019. The line had been physically disconnected years earlier. There was no way a call could have come from it. None. People will tell you there must be an explanation. A technical malfunction. A crossed connection. A tired nurse imagining things at 3 a.m. Maybe. But I know what I heard. I remember the exhaustion in her voice. I remember the words on that wall. And sometimes, on the worst nights, I think about Sarah Miller. About how one person checking on her, one nurse, one doctor, one visit, at the right moment could have changed everything. Maybe that's why she kept calling. Not because she was angry. Not because she wanted revenge, but because she was still waiting for someone to finally answer and not leave her alone.